Hey y'all, in this video, I'm gonna share 3 reasons why people don't support new nonprofits. Let's get into it. Hey, this is Tiffany with Boss on the Budget. I help new and small nonprofits get up and running. So if you need help, make sure you are subscribed because I drop videos every week to help you start your nonprofit, but also raise money for your nonprofit. And today I'm gonna do a video to share why people don't support new nonprofits. And I know as I'm talking to the founders today, a lot of you are probably frustrated because you feel like people aren't supporting you, they're not giving money, they're not lifting up your cause. And I want to just share some reasons why people don't. And I also just wanted to be clear that just because people don't support you now doesn't mean they won't ever. And sometimes it's not the people, it may be you. It may be how you're packaging your message. It may be how you're framing your work. So I want to share 3 insights to why people don't typically support new nonprofits. And then also show you the flip side, like knowing that, what can you do? What can you put in place to change that? All right. Now, I just want to be clear. I am unapologetically supportive of new nonprofits, small nonprofits, Black-led nonprofits, grassroots nonprofits. I had to go through the whole list, okay? I am so much in support of those kinds of nonprofits. That's the whole reason why I created Boss on the Budget. So when I'm saying these things, it's not in a negative way to deter you or discourage you. This is actually to help you turn around some things that you may be struggling with starting your nonprofit. So here's one big reason why people don't support you. It's because you don't have a plan. So when you approach people and you tell them about the work that you want to do, and maybe you get people interested and they want to decide if they want to support you more or if they're going to help in some way, typically you're going to get more questions. Typically you're going to get people ask, oh, well, how are you doing that? Or who's working with you? Or what's your plan? Or what are you hoping to do? And if you don't have answers to those questions, it's a big turnoff for people. And it's been my experience that people don't typically support things where there's not a lot of clarity, there's not a lot of vision, there's nothing for them to follow, right? So you want somebody to get behind you, but you have no idea where you're going. So you're just the blind leading the blind. And people often get frustrated, especially when it comes to getting their board energized, because they feel like the board isn't stepping up into leadership positions and just taking on things that the founder believes that they should take on. But one of the big reasons why that happens, and you see that disconnect, is because the founder hasn't set the vision and he or she has not set up that expectation for what they want. And that person believes that all they got to say is do it and that everybody will fall in line and automatically know what to do. But you have to remember, especially as a startup nonprofit founder, you have to step in the role of a visionary. You have to set the vision for people because you're starting something from scratch. You're starting something that most times doesn't exist, and you're trying to get people behind an idea. And in order for them to get behind the idea, there has to be a vision for it, and there has to be a plan for how you get to that vision. So you must have a plan in place, and there are different types of plans and different things you can set in motion in order to get to that vision. There are 4 plans that I typically talk about. There are absolutely more things you can concentrate on, but as a basic, there are 4 plans you should have in place when you're starting your nonprofit. Now, I also cover these 4 plans in my nonprofit startup workbook. So if you don't have it, make sure you grab it because there are worksheets that are designed to help you develop these plans. First of those plans is your strategic plan. And usually when you're super new, you can do like a 1-year plan, and then maybe you can do a 3 and 5-year plan after that. But you want to have a sense within the next year, how are you going to grow? Because in your first year, you're going to scale quite a bit, right? You're going to grow and change things quite a bit. So you want to start at that small kind of interval so you can see in 1 year, how do we want to be? So you set your goals around your infrastructure and your admin. You set your goals around your programming, set your goals around fundraising and marketing, right? And that feeds into your 1-year strategic plan. The second kind of plan you want is your budget. And your budget should match what's in your strategic plan. So all the goals that you want to set or all the goals you want to hit in 1 year, the numbers in your budget should reflect that. You want to serve this many people, you want to do this many services. The cost of doing that should be reflected in your expenses in your budget. And then for your revenue, it should cover that budget. It should cover those expenses to make sure you can pay for that. So the second plan is your budget. The third plan is your fundraising or development plan. And that goes right in line with your budget. So you said you need to raise a certain amount of money to cover your expenses. How are you going to do that? What are the strategies you're going to put in place to raise money? Are you going to ask for donations? Are you seeking grants? Are you going to do fee for service? Those are 3 examples that I kind of lift up for new nonprofits to consider as their balance or their mix of income sources. So think about your fundraising and development plan. And then lastly, think about what your marketing plan is or your communications plan, right? How are you going to stay visible? How are you going to talk about your nonprofit over and over and over again so people begin to trust you as an organization? So one of the biggest reasons is that you don't have a plan, and the answer is to create one. All right, so I just went through 4 important plans you need to have in place as a basic. But then as your organization begins to grow, you may have like operational plans and staffing plans and things like that. But at least have those 4 that I talked about so that you're starting in a good place. The second reason why people don't support new nonprofits is because nobody knows you. They don't know about you. They have never heard of you. And don't make the assumption that once you get 501c3 status, that for some reason, like they're going to put it in the newspaper and they're going to announce, hey, this person is a 501c3 organization now. Or even if you put it out, that people are going to share it like it's a great thing to them. And I don't want to offend you, but I need to be real in this moment so you can get it through your head that no one's going to be as passionate about your nonprofit as you. And that's okay because you're starting it. And that's how it's supposed to be. And so your job is to convince people to be passionate about it too. But nobody's going to be as passionate. So the onus is on you to keep talking about your nonprofit. Keep pulling from that passion, right? Use that vision to propel the organization forward. Everywhere you go, talk about the work that you're doing. And a tip I would give is not to focus on the organization, not to focus everything you talk about as support my organization. Because this is what we do, right? When we start something new, like we start a business, support my business. You know what I mean? Lift me up, support me because I started a new business. And we tend to have that same frame when we start a nonprofit. But I want you to shift that a little bit. Of course, you want your family and your friends to support you, and just be okay if they don't. But you're not asking people to support an organization. You're asking people to support a change, the change that your organization brings about, the change that can't happen unless they join in with you. So you have to sell the change. You have to sell the vision that you have in place, not sell the support of an organization, because you're an organization of millions of nonprofits that to a regular person means nothing, right? So you're selling the change that you want to make. You're selling the story of your nonprofit. So to go from no one knowing you to everyone knowing you, or the people you need to know you, make sure you are marketing and talking about your organization all the time, right? And some examples of that is have strong branding, right? So have your logo or whatever messages that you put out, talk about it consistently. What's your angle that you want people to know you for or know about you? How do you want people to feel after they hear from or learn from your organization? Work on showing your logo everywhere and getting prepared for people to ask about the work that you do. Get used to talking about your topic. Establish yourself as an expert by writing articles, writing blogs. You can write posts on LinkedIn. You can write posts on social media, so that when people begin to see your page or see your logo, they associate what you talk about and what you know about with you, right? And so there are a bunch of strategies that you can use. So I talked about this in another video that I did, how to become more visible as a nonprofit. I'm linking that above so you can watch it. But I also recorded a visibility masterclass. So I've recorded about 6 or 7 different masterclasses on the startup process, and one of those is about visibility. It is actually my favorite masterclass that I've ever recorded, and in it I broke down like a whole social media strategy that you can borrow for yourself. So if you want to watch that class, you can purchase it. The link is down below. Another tip before I go to the last point is that if you want to become more visible, One way to do that is peer-to-peer fundraising. I talk about peer-to-peer fundraising because it's very accessible for people who don't have a lot of money starting out and don't know a lot of people starting out. And peer-to-peer fundraising is just a way that you can get people that you know or people who are interested in your organization to raise money for you. And you put a strategy in place where they begin to amplify your message and they talk about your message for you in order to solicit donations. And by tapping into their networks, you are essentially expanding your network and you're getting in front of more people. So one way to be more visible is to use a peer-to-peer fundraising strategy. I also have a workbook on that I'm linking below if you need help creating your own strategy, and I'm linking a video where I talked about it up above. And the third reason why people don't support new nonprofits is because they don't understand your why. They don't understand why you exist. And when they don't understand it, it doesn't really matter to them and they don't pay attention to you, because why should they, right? People have limited attention spans as it is. And when you're not giving them a compelling reason as to why they should stop and pay attention to what you're doing, then they're not going to stop. So what's the answer to that? How do you get people to care? Well, first thing I'm going to say is not everyone is going to care, because everyone doesn't have a connection to what you're talking about. So when I'm talking about like the people who want to know your why or who need to understand your why, these are your people. These are people who have some affinity to the work that you're doing or care about the work that you're doing. If you've watched some of my videos, you can guess what I have an affinity for. You can guess how you can get me to support an organization. I want you to try to guess what kind of causes I would be interested in the comments below. And I want to see if you get it right. I want to see if you guess right. And I will be in the comments lighting y'all up if you get it wrong, because that means you haven't been watching my videos and you need to go back and watch them. So how do you get people to care? First of all, you have to be able to understand your why and communicate it clearly. Right? So why did your organization start? There was a problem that you saw. There was a gap. There was an issue that you saw happening in your community, whether it's your geographic community or your community could be your industry or people with like experiences as you. Something was missing. So you decided to create something to address it. So your why includes, why did you start? Who did you start for? And what are they struggling with most? And why? And then you take it a step further and say, well, why does it matter? And why does it matter now? Right? There's a reason why you felt so strongly that you put in paperwork, that you're starting to put together a board. You're doing all of this work. And there's a reason. There's a sense of urgency. And you may not feel like it's urgent, or you may not feel like it's that serious as other things, like maybe you're not working in homelessness and things like that. But there is a sense of urgency because obviously something is going wrong and it's not being fixed. Because if it was, you wouldn't start your nonprofit. So frame it as a way of, if we don't address this now, it's going to continue to be a problem, and it's going to be a problem in this way. And when you answer those questions, it can begin to help form basically your pitch, right? You making the case for why your organization needs to exist and why someone should support your organization. I'm going to repeat this again. Not everyone is going to care, and that's okay. That's not enough reason for you to stop. That's not enough reason for you to get discouraged and feel like, I don't want to do this anymore. You have to find the right people, and you have to continue to refine your message until you get it, right? Until you get in that groove and you're able to explain it and hit people emotionally and get them really involved and engaged in what you're doing. So what I'm describing, like those questions that I threw out to you, are part of you building your case statement. And a case statement is usually a document that people who want to start fundraising will do first. It's a foundational document that you use to talk about why your organization exists. You're making a case for why someone should provide funding for you. And so you're laying out all that information so that you can put together a persuasive argument. Okay. Now I have a case statement example also included in my nonprofit startup workbook. It is one of the bonus worksheets. So make sure you grab that workbook if you don't have it at all. It is my best-selling product. People love the workbook. I get a lot of good feedback on it. So if you haven't grabbed it yet, make sure you grab it. It's in the link below. So was that helpful, y'all? So don't forget to put some comments below so I can respond to see if you guessed right about the type of organizations that I typically support. And if you need help with your nonprofit, if you need help with raising money for your new nonprofit, don't forget to visit me at www.bossonabudget.com, and I will see you in the next video.